Good day to you and a very warm welcome to highlights of the 44th Generali Berlin Half Marathon. The German capital quite glorious on this super spring sunny Sunday morning. A field of over 40,000 ready to go for this half marathon. And underway they go. The race starting in cold temperatures. It may be sunny, but only around 4 or 5 degrees centigrade as they get underway on the Strasse Day, 17th June. Very similar start line position to the Berlin Marathon, which happens every September. In the background, you can see the Brandenburg Gate, but a dead straight start here for this massive field. Two very, very high caliber elite fields, men's and women's, and chances of course records in both races. The top East Africans, of course, here in good numbers. But athletes here from 135 nations around the globe, such as the glorious attraction of Berlin in the year 2025. The pacemakers, well, their job to set a steady tempo through the first half for the elite racers. Of course, sometimes these days it's hard to find pacemakers good enough to lay down a quick enough tempo to stay with the absolute best in the world. Dida is up there early on. One of the pre-race favourites, Gemechu Dida, the 25-year-old Ethiopian. There is the Sieger Sauler, the 67-metre-high victory column. Gold Elsa sits at the top, goddess of victory, as she is known, reigning over the Tiergarten in the centre of Berlin. Glorious green space, one of the lungs of the city. But the athletes circumnavigating that roundabout after only 400 or 500 metres, and then heading out on the early stages of this anti-clockwise course, which stretches east-west across the city. You get an idea there of what a fantastic spring day it is, but it's deceptive because it is cold. Spectators all warmly wrapped up, gloves and hats necessary on this particular Sunday morning. Dida there, pressurising the pacemakers, even with only 3 minutes on the clock, to take it out a little bit quicker. He's looking to go a long way under 3 minutes per kilometre, and that first kilometre, 2 minutes 50 for the elite men. That represents something like 59.47 tempo, and I know that Dida will want quicker than that. He's a man with a personal best of 58.39. That was in Valencia just last year. Well, the leading woman, she is outstanding favourite here. Fotyen Tesfay, the 27-year-old Ethiopian. Third fastest woman in history at this distance with a best of 63.21. And she has set out her stall early on very, very aggressively, checking her watch, wanting those splits to go right for her as well. And her first kilometre, 3:01. Pretty much spot on. She'll be wanting to hit 3 minutes per kilometre as this race unfolds. Dida, well, only a couple of kilometres under his belt, and he's already dropped the pacemakers. This is unprecedented. I've never seen this in all my years as a distance running commentator. An athlete going out so aggressively in the first few minutes of any major road race that the pacemakers cannot live with him. Quite incredible. The crowds at the Berlin Marathon, and indeed at this annual half marathon, one of the biggest in the world, are absolutely immense in places, and the adrenaline flying for these athletes as they pass those cheering crowds. There's an idea of the course. As you can see, it does stretch east to west. The athletes at around 3 kilometres. Dida here at 3K, knocking out these early kilometres. The first kilometre was a little slower. Maybe that's what frustrated him. 2:50 that first kilometre, 2:46 the second kilometre, and then at 2:45 he's getting quicker. This is incredibly aggressive running, and already he's strung them out. There's no chance of a pack in this race, as we see so often in major races. That is the norm. A pack of runners through to halfway, and then maybe somebody putting in a surge. But Dida here has slapped the gauntlet down at the feet of these other runners, as we see Amanal, the leading German. He's hoping to, Amanal Petros, hoping to improve his German record and maybe get under the 60-minute barrier, the 29-year-old. Well, Germany's experiencing resurgence in women's distance running too. Esther Pfeiffer, the 27-year-old from Dusseldorf in the pink there, and the well-established Gesa Krause, twice the European champion in the steeplechase, now moving on to the roads. She, in this little pack, you can see Sam Harrison there of Great Britain, 67-10 performer in the purple. And 3 Kenyans in there as well. Caroline Jabet Correa, she's a 67-minute performer, so that's a high-caliber women's pack chasing Tesfay, who was way out in front already with only 10 or 11 minutes on the clock. Dida, likewise, has turned this into a bit of a procession, this men's race. There is Etir, Richard Etir. He's a 59-32 performer, isolated at the moment in second place. Chasing him hard back there in third and fourth are Robert Koech and the leading German Petros in the pink outfit. But Dida here, just look at that form. He's a beautiful looking running, really powerfully built, long bouncy stride, quite an extravagant distance running stride. But he's got a clear plan here. 23 minutes on the clock. He's nowhere near halfway. The pacemakers he dropped long ago. And now he is surging through these early kilometers. He's passed 5K in 13:52. That puts him on schedule for 58:29. It would be a new course record. The existing course record, 58:42 for the men, by the way. 65:02 for the women's race. And there's the conditions, 5 degrees centigrade. It is cool, a little bit cooler than ideal, but the city of Berlin normally experiences very little wind. There is a slight breeze across the city this morning, coming from the south, about 10 kilometers per hour, that wind across the city. That may affect the athletes as the wind channels between the buildings. But look at the focus of Dida here. Wonderful rhythm, long, bouncy stride. He's a fantastic track runner as well. He's a well-established half-marathon runner on the track. 26:42. He ran for 10,000 meters last year. The drink's absolutely critical for these athletes. He drops that drink, and that may affect him psychologically more than physically. In half marathons, the drink's not as important as in the full marathon distance. But look at Petros, working really hard here as he approaches 10K to the right of picture. He was running with Koech in third and fourth through the early kilometers, and now he's pushed away from Koech and is chasing hard to try and run down on Richard Etir, the 21-year-old Kenyan who's in second place. So at the moment, he's trying to cross that gap between third and second, and he is closing down. We know he's in great shape. Is Amanal Petros, trains most of the time in Kenya these days, coached by the famous Renato Canova. And what a good job he's done over these recent years. He's made very, very steady progress these last 5 years. Winner of the Hanover Marathon in 2023 and 2024. He holds the national record for Germany after 9th place in 2023, 2:04 marathon. So he's got great strength, Petros, and he is closing down on Etir in second place. But look at Dida, isolated. A lead there of about 100 meters, maybe 150 meters. And there the 10K splits, 27:43 for Dida at 10K. That is super quick. He's heading for a time at the moment of below 58:30. Etir and Petros back in second and third. Well, there are cheering points and bands and plenty of music all along this course to engage with the 40,000, roughly 40,000 starters. And here you can see one of the specialists handing the bottles out to the drinkers, to the athletes. Great hand over there from Bottle Klaus, as he's known. Became famous in the Berlin Marathon when Eliud Kipchoge, 3 or 4 years back, set one of his world records here. He was the personal drink provider to Kipchoge, the legendary 2-time Olympic champion in the marathon. And today he's doing a great job for Tesfay, and she gets that drink, and that's wonderful. She's able to maintain her rhythm there with her personal pacemaker. And Tesfay, who is herself a fabulous track runner, a complete runner, maintaining a brilliant tempo, heading down for sub 64 minutes maybe. Here's that chasing pack for the women. The Germans with a lot of interest going on here. Krause and Pfeiffer in this pack. Blanca Dorfel just a few seconds further back. But it's a big women's pack. 3 Kenyans in this chasing pack behind the lead pace of Tesfay. Tesfay operating, frankly, in a different stratosphere. It's only her 4th half marathon ever. Tesfay out in front. Some of these athletes still learning their trade as well. Every race you garner experience, you get more knowledge. You learn better how to cope with the challenges of courses. Krause, well, she is already a distance running legend for German athletics. European Championship silver medalist as recently as last summer in the steeplechase, although she's 32 now and gradually moving onto the roads. But she's quick over 10k, quick over the half marathon as well, with a best of 69.47. And Krause looking for a personal best here today. The tall figure in the middle, just leading her at the moment, is Esther Pfeiffer. Pfeiffer in good form, back in January running a really solid 10k in preparation for this one. But she too looking to improve on her best of 69.51. And of course, so many of these male national standard runners keying off the top women because they know those women are going to be running 68, 69 minutes. So in effect, they're using those lead women, ironically, as pacemakers for their race day. Well, 35 minutes on the clock and Dida powers on out in front. He has led almost from the gun. He had some assistance from the pacemakers for about the first kilometre. He saw that time came up at 2:50 at 1k and then clearly thought, nope, I'm not having this. It's too slow. I need a faster tempo. And he pushed out in front on his own. And he's surging from 1 kilometre to the next, maintaining a really strong tempo and pulling further and further away. Maybe some frustration for Gemechu Dida, the men's leader here. He just missed out on the European team at 10,000 metres for Paris last summer. But he then finished his second in the African Games and the African Championships last year at 10,000 metres. So he has fabulous track credentials and he's transferring those to the roads now so well. That women's pack is massive. I do wonder whether or not perhaps they're watching each other a little bit too much, not running at optimum pace, each of those leading women. Otherwise, why would they be with 36 minutes on the clock so close together? The leading woman, Tesfay, 3:03 there for that kilometre, that 12th kilometre. She slowed a little bit. The early kilometres for her, around 3 minutes, 3:01 per kilometre. And at 13 kilometres, Dida still maintaining a fabulous mid-race tempo, 2:46. That puts him down there in the low 58s, if he can hold it together. This is a really hard way of doing it. Don't let's forget, we're so used to seeing pacemakers helping out in major races at half marathon and marathon, again and again in the big races all over the world. Today, he's having to do this the hardest way possible, out on his own for the entire race. That's a very, very tough ask. The battle then for second and third in the men's race. 42 minutes on the clock. They're approaching 15k. And Etir of Kenya, just 21 years old, but on paper, about 45 seconds quicker than Amanal Petros there, the leading German. These two in second and third. And they've gone through 15k, look. 41.40 the leader, Dida. 42.17 this pair in second and third places at 15k. And that puts them on schedule for around 59.30. Now, this is phenomenal running from Petros. He has never broken 60 minutes, the German. And he is heading here for an improvement of some 30 or 40 seconds if he can hold it together through the final 6 kilometres. The glory of this German capital is that the road surface is absolutely superb quality. The corners are relatively gentle, sweeping corners. And the city is dead flat. And usually there's no wind, but there are suggestions that there's a little bit of wind out there blowing the paper and the banners around through the centre of the city. And Dida here, just looking a little bit laboured there to left of picture. Not quite the same bounce and power to that stride, that body action. Petros, 42.18 at 15k. Well, that suggests, yeah, something around 40, 59.25, 59.30. He's tucked into the slipstream there behind Etier. And I do wonder if maybe here, for example, they are running into a slight wind because he's not up alongside the Kenyan. He's right in behind him like cyclists slipstreaming behind the young Kenyan. Well, Etier actually is one of those Kenyans who took a scholarship in Japan and lives in Japan for most of the year. He runs for the Kokusai Tokyo University. But he is a 59.32 performer. That was in the Marugame half marathon last year. And at the moment, he's heading for something almost exactly to mirror that performance. 2:50, the last kilometre for the leader, Dida. Now, if he maintains that tempo through the last 5K, it does represent a slight slowing. I thought he looked a little tired when we saw him a couple of minutes ago. And I think Dida here, maybe after 15 very hard, aggressive kilometres on his own out in front, and with maybe a bit of headwind, is feeling it. The leading woman here. She is a tiny figure. Really minuscule. 40 kilograms is Tesfay. Fotyen Tesfay. Already the third fastest woman in history. I don't think there was much doubt she was going to dominate this race today. She's a great cross-country runner, a great track runner. 8th fastest in history at 10K on the road. She's got fabulous leg speed. And actually, rather like Dida, she's really powerfully built, really well muscled. So many of the top East African athletes tend to be long and lean. But here, coming down off this bridge with 46 minutes on the clock, about 3/4 of the distance behind her, she's looking really strong. Has got into a lovely rhythm. She trains with Tigista Sefa, who set a world record in the Berlin Marathon back in 2023, so she knows all about training with real strength, combined with fabulous speed. And this man, too, is the complete runner. Dida. Now look at that furrowed brow. This fella is working hard. I don't think he's overcooked it, but this is such a difficult way to run a half marathon. To try and run down there in the 58s, all on your own, from the start, is nigh on impossible. And he looks to me like he's suffering. 46 minutes on the clock. He's at around 17K. Don't let's forget that the world record for the half marathon was broken just a few weeks ago by Jacob Kiplimo of Uganda. He ran an almost science-fictional 56:42 in Barcelona. He took the world record for the half marathon into a totally different stratosphere. And athletes like Dida and so many others, Kejelcha, who held the world record for Ethiopia before Kiplimo's run in Barcelona, they've got to get back to hard work now and figure out how to get below 57 minutes because he's the only athlete who's done that, Kiplimo. Dida here might be one of those to be able to do that. He is only 25. He's getting stronger every year. He's getting faster every year. That's probably the most difficult turn to negotiate in the whole race. 2:50 for the 17th kilometre. That's the same as for the previous kilometre. And that confirms he is suffering. He has slowed marginally. Only 3 or 4 seconds per kilometre. But when you start building that together, you start losing 10, 15 seconds on your previous tempo. And now, the course record that looked like he was going to take it very comfortably, 58:42, is beginning to look a bit of a challenge. He's still bouncing along beautifully. Look at that huge gap behind him. He's built this massive lead through such aggressive running over the first 15K. But now he's slowing marginally. And actually so is Tesfay. Look at that, 3:05 for her 16th kilometre. It cannot be a coincidence that both the leaders have slowed in the 16th kilometre. I wonder whether or not that involves a slight turn into the wind. And that combined with the fatigue of the last 5 or 6K, perhaps making them slow just a few seconds per kilometre. Right a picture. You can see Petros of Germany still tucked in behind Etier. There's a real ding-dong battle going on for second and third. What a contrast to this glorious isolation of the leader, Dida. And there you can see a glorious structure, the TV tower in old East Berlin, the Fernsehturm. 368 meters high. That's over 1,000 feet. It's the tallest building in Germany. Opened back in 1969, long before the Berlin Wall was done away with. In the women's race, the Germans packed together, having their own little battle, though Pfeiffer just beginning to ease away at 15k from Krauser. Now that's interesting. Pfeiffer has got a 5-second gap on Krauser, clearly the steeplechase specialist, and they're a special breed. Clearly Krauser is just beginning to suffer a little bit through the last 5 or 6k as Dida passes another cheering point. Massive support for the race leader here. One good thing about the crowds in Berlin is that after so many years of fabulous races in the half marathon, and in particular the Berlin Marathon each September, they are a learned crowd. They appreciate great distance running, and they're roaring Dida on here because they know that this is fast. How do they know? Because of that massive gap behind him. 18 kilometers done, a 2:48. Well, he's dug deep. He's back down to really quick splits here. That's a fabulous split for the 18th kilometer. He's got to be hurting. 18k and a 2:48, and his projected time at the moment is 58:45, and that course record, remember, 58:42. He's going to have to dig deeper if he wants to get that course record. Well, Fotyen Tesfay, she has had company the whole way, unlike Dida, albeit male company in what is a mixed race for her. And the victory is not in doubt for Tesfay. It's really just how fast can she go. As for Amanal Petros here, who looks really studious, doesn't he? He looks like a professor in those glasses. Just tucked in still, right in the rain shadow, the slipstream of Richard Etier, rather. And they're into the closing stages now. 57 minutes on the clock, left of picture. Gemechu Dida of Ethiopia, the 25-year-old, who was second in the Ras Al Khaimah half marathon back in February, early February, 59:25 he ran there. He's run a lot quicker than that today. He's going to be quicker, there's no doubt about it. Using all that racing now, that experience to dig deep now. In the last minute or two is Gemechu Dida. The Brandenburg Gate beckons for the men's leader. It's also in sight for the second and third places. And what a fabulous battle building to the right there, with Etier in the red and Petros in that sort of pink-purple outfit, side by side now. Fotyen Tesfay to right of picture, trying to move up alongside her pacemaker. She's run a fabulous race already, the 27-year-old Ethiopian. This is going to be a special time from her, but how quick is she going to run? And how quick is this man going to run? Gemechu Dida now, with about 200 meters to go. He's through the Brandenburg Gate. He can see the line, sprinting like mad for the line. Look at the clock. Remember the course record, 58:42. Is he going to get it? He's grimacing hard. The crowd roaring him home here. Breaks the tape there at what looks like 58:41 or maybe 58:42. It looks like he might have equaled the course record. We'll have to wait for official confirmation. He gave absolutely everything. Maybe if he'd had some competition, somebody to sprint against in the last 200 or 300 meters, he could have gone a little bit quicker. Now these two are going to have to sprint because this is a battle royal between the top German Petros in the purple and that red vest of Richard Etier of Kenya. And they sprint for the line, and this time they do raise their game. And Etier to the left, glances across, has time cheekily, can you believe it, to look at his watch, as Amanal also sprints for the line. Amanal Petros is beaten, but he will be a marvellous third as Etier takes second place, and the time is super fast. 59:30 unofficially there, and you can see what Petros thinks of it. It's a massive new German record. He is one of the very few, only 4 or 5 Europeans ever have gone under 60 minutes. Greeted there by Mark Milder, the race director. And what a performance from Petros. He's not worried about losing out on that sprint. He makes the finishing gantry, or the finishing rostrum, I should say, behind Dida of Ethiopia and Etier of Kenya. Germany have third here, and a fabulous German record. In the women's race, well, Tesfay, look at that grimace. She too working incredibly hard here, and I have to say her pacemaker has done a fantastic job. He seems to have just dragged out the effort from her at the perfect rate in these last few kilometers. 60 minutes on the clock for her. She went through 10k in 29:53. She's gone through 20k just outside 60 minutes, 60:15 at 20k. So that second 10k was about 30 seconds slower than the first 10k. But as she goes through the Brandenburg Gate and out into the glorious daylight beyond, she can see the finish line now. Can she raise her game? Her pacemaker moves to one side and leaves her in that glorious isolation which effectively she's had in this women's contest throughout the race. Fotyen Tesfay, we know she's one of the greats at the half marathon. Today she will become the champion in the 44th edition of the Generali Berlin Half Marathon. And what a time! Look at the clock as she breaks the tape. 63:34 unofficially. We'll wait for confirmation of that. It's a massive new course record for her. Remember, it was 65:02 by Chepkirui 3 years ago. She's just taken almost a minute and a half off the course record. And here the leading German, Esther Pfeiffer. She too broaches new ground, around 69:15. That lops about 37 seconds of her best time ever. That's a supreme run from Pfeiffer. She's given her all, the 27-year-old from Dusseldorf, and becomes, with that run, German record holder and the best today. Confirmation of those top 10 in the men's race. Absolutely brilliant running from Dida to come home in a new course record, or so close to that course record. In fact, just double checking, misses it by 1 second, does Dida. 58:43, his unofficial winning time. And for the leading woman, Tesfay, she came home today in a super quick time as well. Her time, 63:35. What a day of racing here in Berlin.